Okay, so I appear to be having some teething problems setting up this new device. For that reason, I'll try and keep this condensed so that I'm not wasting too much time if it doesn't work out. I want to talk about Donald Trump and his latest rhetoric, which is troubling, but then for this president also not surprising. Donald Trump literally called for China to investigate the Bidens. Now, it's one thing calling for Ukraine to do so, it's still highly inappropriate, but Ukraine is a pro-America government. To call for China, a powerful adversary, to do this, I find frankly staggering, to basically investigate a domestic political rival. What's also staggering is that anyone would even attempt to defend this. Now, wherever you think of the Democrats and wherever you think of the impeachment process, every time Trump comes out with something like this, as far as I'm concerned, he gives more weight to the legitimacy of the concerns raised by his critics. I cannot think of any president in American history, including Richard Nixon, who actually called for a hostile foreign state to do this. Not that it's the first time. You know, when he openly called for Russia to look at Clinton's emails. And the thing is, this is obviously partisan. You know, Trump and his supporters will say it's a witch hunt, they're out to get me. The Democrats are only interested in getting Trump out of office. And in the case of his critics within his party, people like Mitt Romney, then it'll be, oh well, they're only looking to try and run against him. But I say, so what? That's politics. That's just the nature of politics. But to actually call for a hostile foreign state to interfere in domestic politics, that's not just, you know, China isn't just an exponential threat to the United States. As far as I'm concerned, we've seen what's going on in Australia with China's underhand techniques. For Trump to actually call for Beijing to do this is an absolute travesty. And simultaneously, this is also the president who's launched a trade war against China. So his critics might say, oh, but look, Trump's taken a hard line on China. It's almost like some sort of split personality. It's almost like he can take strong policy decisions. I'll be fair to Trump. For example, his decisive action against the Assad regime in Syria and against Islamic State, I believe, is justified. But I think it's kind of, the policy side is one thing and then his personal ego is another. And I think because of this feud with the Bidens, he's just upping the ante, but doing so in the most reckless, unpresidential way. I mean, fine, criticise Biden, say he's corrupt, say it's a witch hunt, all of that. But for God's sake, don't bring China into it. I just find that staggering, how anyone could even try to condone that. I'm just looking at the quality of this, really seems quite hazy, so I hope it's okay when it comes to being uploaded. The upload time is much faster. So I'll leave it there. We'll just close with this thought. Some will say that this process that the Democrats have to try and impeach Trump will backfire because Trump could make himself look like the victim, like he is, you know, being targeted as sort of witch hunt. I don't think that is the case. I think this is a president who has been incredibly reckless. I think this is a president who's disgraced his office with these sort of rants. I think he's probably very corrupt. And it's not that I'm endorsing Joe Biden or anything like that. I've got plenty of issues with the Democrats of my own. But this really is beyond party politics. I mean, yes, it's a partisan issue, but more and more Republicans are very uneasy with Trump. And I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that they will go out of their way to defend him. Some will, and certainly the hardcore Trump supporters will. But I think there's lots of middle ground Republicans who are very uneasy at the moment because they can see what a disgrace he is. I mean, it's just unprecedented. You know, in terms of will the impeachment change anything, if it goes ahead, I mean, Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton were both impeached, but they stayed in office, so it won't necessarily mean Trump leaving office, but hopefully it will mean he will be a one-term president, and that will be humiliating, which will greatly damage his ego. I hope he is. I think this is a man who cannot be trusted on Western security. Even though, yes, his government expelled Russian diplomats, yes, his government has taken a hard line on China, Trump's ego is a problem, and I think that is the issue here. And there must be people around Trump can see that. People like Mike Pence and others can see that. So some might say the Democrats are shooting themselves in the foot by pursuing impeachment. I think the more Trump comes out with things like this, the more ammo they're going to have.